All right.
So good afternoon, good morning, over there in Holland. My name is Juan Bautista Propato. I work for Football West. Before I was in New Zealand for 12 years, Germany, and Cuba, and of course in my hometown of Argentina. But today we have the pleasure to introduce an amigo, a friend, a coach, everything, Esam. How are you, mate?
I'm very well, thank you, Juan. Very well, thank you.
So, what time is over there in Holland at the moment?
It's over here. It's 11 past 11 a.m. So it's morning, still morning here, and that's Wednesday, the 22nd of April. Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah. So we are here at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I didn't cook dinner yet, so hopefully I don't get in trouble with my wife. Anyway, so tell me a little about your experience as a player.
Yeah, well, like Juan introduced, I was born and raised in Cameroon, and most of my early football experiences in Cameroon, growing up there, and it's quite a different time as well too, because I think football has changed a lot in Cameroon as well than it used to be before. When I was growing up playing football there, it was there wasn't a lot of glamour about football, you know. It was because there wasn't too much money in football as it is now. So it was more for the love of it instead of football as a way out of poverty. As is the case now, people like rely on trying to see if football can get them out of poverty and give them a better life. But when I was growing up, it was more you just play for the fun of it because we didn't really um, we didn't have a professional league at that time. So people just played because they liked to play, not because they wanted to be somebody. And it's only probably around the late 90s, you know, the late half of the 90s, when we started having players making a lot of money, Cameroonian players making a lot of money, like Samuel Eto'o. He was just coming up in the around 2000, you know. So people saw exactly how much money he was making. Jeremy Gitap, who played for Real Madrid, and Pierre Wome, who played for Inter, and Werder Bremen. So these guys, you know, they came back with money, you know. So you could see how football has changed people's lives. And that also changed in the mainstream because a lot of parents also started seeing the benefit of letting their kids play football. Because before, football was for bad kids, you know, those who drop out of school. Yeah, they drop out of school, they're always in the yard, you know. When others are studying, they're out there playing football. And a lot of these guys were very good, you know. And that's why my parents were also worried that if I hang around too much with these guys, I may drop out of school. Because yeah, because they're really good because they're always practicing, you know. They're always playing football. So, you know, the whole thing about football is the more you play, the better you get, you know. So they always play.
When you grew up in Cameroon, there was no even one professional football club in Cameroon.
No, I think that professionalism came a bit later. You know, we just had like amateur football teams, and then we had a few professionals who were the good ones who moved to Europe and start playing professional in Europe. So there were amateur teams or kind of semi-professional, but not really people not living on the wage from football. But then the scouts will come and pick the good ones from these clubs and take them to Europe and turn them into professionals in Europe. So now when they come back to Cameroon to play, they come back as professionals. But when they left, they were not professional. You see, and that's why like a lot of even the great team in the 90s, there were too many amateurs in the team as well. About half of the team were players based in Cameroon who were not professional. Then about half will come from Europe, like Thomas Nkono, Cyril Makanaki, you know. These guys were guys who were playing with clubs in France. Nkono was playing for Espanyol of Barcelona. So there were a few ones who went out and made money in terms of professional football. So that's the environment I grew up in when we had to hide to play football because the parents were not happy with you playing football when you should be studying. You know, so I had to hide and play football. I had to hide my injuries as well. You know, and I used to always play with pain, but I couldn't talk to anybody about it because if I talk to my parents, yeah, that's it, you won't play anymore. So I used to always carry an injury, you know. There used to be always some pain somewhere, you know. But because I love the game so much, I will keep playing with it, you know. I play this. Today is the ankle, tomorrow is a bit of the hip, tomorrow there's always something, you know. So, but I couldn't tell my parents about it, you know. And that's how I grew up playing football. I remember when I was in school and I was playing football for the school, and and I got injured. I had a broken ankle, and it was so serious they had to send me home because it was a boarding school. But the injury was very serious, and they had to send me home. Then my parents found out that I was playing football at the school, and they were not very happy. You see, and my mother came to school and told the school principal not to put me in the team anymore.
Oh.
Yeah, it was. so, so you see how it was difficult. And I kind of feel like perhaps if we grew up at a time like now, where there are so many football academies in Cameroon now, we have a kind of a professional league going on now. There's there maybe things would have been different for us because we had to hide and play football. But it's it's only when you're getting somewhere then you become proud of it. You can come out and say, you know, okay, I'm signing for this club. I'm going to play for this club. You know, even at that level, my father was still not impressed. You know, because I remember I went to a training session once for a football club, a top provincial football club. And I went for a training session. I trained one time, and they had a game in 3 days, and I got into the starting lineup. Training one time, yeah. So I was so happy about it. I wanted to share it with somebody, you know. And I wrote a letter. Then mobile phones were not there, quite common, you know. So I wrote a letter. I sent a letter to my dad, like, "Hey, I'm gonna be in the team. You know, I've just been selected to be in this team because it was quite a good team, you know, quite a prestigious team, you know, like you want to play in that team." So I got in there and I sent a letter to my dad, happy, like, you know, I've been selected. You know, I trained just one time and I got bam. The coach told me I'm starting, you know. My dad didn't respond. He didn't say anything, you know, and he didn't send me pocket allowance.
Oh, really? Oh.
He said, "I sent you out there to go to school and not to play football." So yeah, that's when I was growing up. But it's different now, you know. Football, there's a lot more people. It's more glamour. It's more fashion about football. It's more, you know, because there's so many. It's not just the football anymore. It's like I said, money and all that. Yeah. So yeah.
And you also have you have academies from French clubs set up over
Yes,
there, and then
we have a
picking
lot of
players.
yes. There's
Arsenal was there.
so many scouts, and now I think there are more Cameroon players like playing out of Cameroon than in Cameroon now, in terms of the good ones. You know what I mean? Like the top ones. You know, so as soon as they get uh, they show a little bit of potential, they get snapped. You know, they taken out. You know. And it's all so it's a lot different now than when I was growing up. Yeah.
And
So
what about coaching? When do you start coaching football?
well, in Cameroon I started helping a bit with the kids, you know, and it was different because we just had like the one major academy at that time, and I used to play for the youth competitions of the academy when I was younger, and it's called Brasserie du Cameroon, and it was the only kind of academy where they teach you something, you know, where you're not just playing on the street, you know, where they really teach you like tactical things, you know, this is what you're supposed to do, this is what you do when the score is like this is how you change formation. Yeah, apart from that, you don't know anything about formation if you're playing on the street. So Brasserie du Cameroon were the first big academy in Cameroon, and I'm happy to have been part of it at some point. And that it's an academy as well, which introduced a lot of big Cameroon players who went on later and played really good football. You know, Eto was from Brasserie du Cameroon. Carlos Kameni, who was the goalkeeper of Malaga and Espanyol as well.
Yeah, 2000 something.
Yeah, he was also from Brasserie du Cameroon, the same as Wome, Jeremy. They all came out of Brasserie du Cameroon. So they've been really important for Cameroon football, you know, in terms of bringing up a lot of young players because they had a lot of partnership with French clubs. So they used to they play a national competition, they get the best ones, they take them to France, you know, and you get scouted by other things. Yeah. So yeah, I started doing a little coaching with the you know, the regional team, the youth teams, the small teams when I was because the thing is part of my football has always been injuries as well. Like I said, you know, I've always been blighted with injuries, and which is quite difficult because people look at me and when I play, I'm quite physical, but people don't realize I also get injured so easily, I don't know why, but it just happens. I play physically. I'm quite strict, but then I also get kind of reminds me of Michael Richards.
Yes.
Michael Richards used to play for Man City.
Okay.
He's quite a physical guy, yeah? But he's always injured too, For some reason, he's just injured. So I used to have I used to have a lot of bad luck with injuries.
Yeah, maybe because you are giving everything you got every time, and then it kind of not giving anything. It's just giving everything, and then you don't have the time to recover, and you keep pushing yourself, and then.
Yeah. What you're saying is true. One of my youth coaches told me the same thing you're telling me, because I used to always and then it's just during these injuries when I'm trying to recover or help with the youth teams, help with the coaching the kids, and that, yeah. So that's how I started, and I started enjoying it, how they learn, see how the kids are developing, You see how you say something to them, you think they don't listen, but then you see them playing in a game and you see them doing it. But when you're talking, it's like they're not really listening to you, but inside they're actually taking it in. And then you will see in the game it comes out once,
and then you go, yes.
In your head you go like, yeah, that's it. Now that's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
And then what about, so then you went to New Zealand and you were coaching in New Zealand as well, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I went to, when I came to New Zealand, I remember you were there when I came to New Zealand. I went through England as well. I did some playing and coaching in England, but wasn't. And then I came to New Zealand and I met you. I remember and when we met at Roa.
Yeah, you can share a story that people don't know.
Yes, and I remember I spoke with Warwick, and he was a club captain of Karori. And Karori was you put me through my first coaching job in New Zealand.
Yeah.
And that's how I met you, and I started coaching in New Zealand. And then after Karori, you left Karori, and after that I went on to do a lot of coaching as well with other people in New Zealand. I went to coach with Winton Rufa, and then we did the coaching as well with Ricky Herbert, the 82 Academy.
Yes.
With you as well, were involved in that one. Then I went on to coach at Island Bay, where I was the director of football at Island Bay United. And I went on as well to set up Winton Rufa's Academy in Wellington area. So I set it up, and then it was unfortunately I had to leave, and I don't know what happened after I left, but I ran it for about a year, and it was going well. Yeah.
And then one of your top players that you helped to develop was Liberato, isn't it?
Yeah.
One of the Wellington Phoenix players.
Yes. Liberato was he was a good kid. He's always been a really good kid, and now you see him. He's not a kid anymore. He's a big man, and you could always tell he's gonna get. He probably sometimes I think he had a strong mental strength. He's the kind of kid you will not easily intimidate. He had a bit of. Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to. There are some wrong words to use to describe that. But, he had a bit of that. You could tell he was a kid who would stand his ground. Who he was mentally strong, and then you could tell that he would go further. From his attitude, he had the right attitude. He was very disciplined, and then he was mentally very strong. Because there were so many other kids. I would be coaching, and I see they're really good, quite talented kids, but you could tell they could be mentally weak at some point. You could tell that. If it gets difficult, they're gonna fall out, Because the thing is that if you're playing football, yes, in the beginning it's just enjoying yourself, but when you start getting more serious, then it becomes more hard work, And then it's not just fun. You have to put in a bit more effort. It goes beyond fun and it starts getting effort involved, And that's the thing when we get it. And when you're playing for free, it's different. But when you're playing for money, it's a different game, So you could tell some of them didn't have the mental strength to be able to put up with stress. But Liberato was not one of those guys. He was quite small as well. He was playing like one grade up. So he was actually 1 year or so younger than the rest of the players in the grade. But he was standing up for himself. He was one of the best players in the team still. and then you could tell that he would, with some luck and everything, because it doesn't always depend on talent. The right things need to happen at the right time. Yeah. And then I'm so happy. Every time I go to New Zealand, I still meet up with him. And
Yeah, I remember last time you took a picture with him.
yes, yeah. We always meet up, and he tells me where exactly he is at the moment. I went to watch his football game. It was about 3 of his games when I was in Wellington.
Do you get a share from him or no? No yet.
Oh yeah, yes I did. Yes I did. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I've got it somewhere in it.
Good.
Yeah. So yeah, it's been good. And there were so many of them. I don't know how you could tell. We're going somewhere. There was some other guy, Owen Parker Price, who played for New Zealand under 20 as well.
Yes.
Yeah, I used to coach his team as well at Island Bay, and then there were some other ones, who some ended up with injury and then they couldn't go further. But they were quite a good group of kids, to be honest.
Yeah, Oli White was on the
Oli
HPP.
White as well was in the team,
Yeah. The All Whites was on HPP. Noah from Onslow, big tall guy.
Yeah.
And then also
there was this other guy who was playing for the Phoenix Academy last year. Was it Finn O'Connor?
Yeah, Finn O'Connor.
Yeah, he was also one of the players that coached as well. And I used to organize a coaching program during the summer holidays when there was no football going on. I used to organize a football program at the Southgate Park, and a lot of these guys who were enthusiastic about football, who didn't want to play cricket and they didn't want to play, they still wanted to keep playing football. A lot of them used to come. The Liberato was one of them. There were other guys, who used to always turn up. They used to always turn up and join me at this program. There were so many good kids who would show up there, and you could tell these ones were different from those who were playing at the club, because they had an extra motivation. They really wanted to just play football. They just wanted to play football the whole time. But when they're playing for the club, it could be the parents as well who are asking them to go and play. But when it came to my summer program, many of them just came because they really wanted to play football. They just wanted to keep playing,
Yeah, wanted to play.
There were quite a lot of good players from there, and it was also helpful as well when I went to Winton Rufer. I could bring along some of the players I knew from Karori and Island Bay, the really good ones. We could still invite them to join, and many of them used to still come along and join at Winton Rufer. We had players coming all the way from Kapiti, and the Onslow clubs, they had very good youth club at Onslow, and that because he used to be the three club coordinator. So so there were so many of these guys who used to turn up, and the level was pretty high because many of these guys were really good before they got there. So the youth teams, the youth coaches in the different clubs already did a lot of good work with them. So by the time they got there, they already had the basics. So it was pretty good, yeah.
What about in Belgium? You did some coaching over there, and Holland as well, no? Holland.
Yeah, I did coaching in Belgium. I think you came to Belgium and met me once. We were doing coaching in Belgium. Yeah, I was coaching at SK Wilrijk. And that's where you came and met me when we were coaching.
Yes.
And it was a different kind of football mentality from New Zealand. It's completely different, And
why?
And sometimes the difference is not even the big things, It's just probably the determination of the kids is a bit different, It's more, I want to win, So winning comes first before fun. You see, from what I figure, and that applies to a lot of Europe. I think you've coached in Germany as well. The way you actually have fun when you win. You don't have fun and lose. So it's it needs some getting used to, because in New Zealand here it was more relaxed. I would say more laid back. I would say, But here it was more of survival of the fittest in Belgium. You could tell, the hunger, the desire to win, and also from a footballing point of view, maybe as a coach, I noticed the differences as well in terms of technical ability and physical ability, and because in Belgium, I realized even at the youth football, there was a lot of emphasis on physical development. Like not development, of course, but in terms of physical exercises, like running, and endurance, and things like that, which are things I learned to kind of ignore a bit in youth football, especially on that 12, not to pay too much attention to these things and just develop more the technical side. But when I got to Belgium, I realized that 11-year-olds, they were doing laps around the field, like serious, sprinting around the field, And then I kind of felt like they were trying to do a combination of both, because also they were doing like very technical drills, more kind of Dutch total football style of drills as well. But then they also bring in a bit of physicality in it, So it was not just fancy passing of the ball, but also being able to throw those tackles in there, to get off and chase, So yeah, it was a bit different. But like I said before, I think the main thing was also the mental strength, the mentality of the kids was different. It was just win, 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 win. I want to win. If I don't win, I'm not happy.
Well, that generation of Belgian players, I believe, is the most successful players generation of Belgium. I mean, 86,
yeah, you could say
in Argentina, but 2014 quarterfinal, they lost against us 1-0, Leeuwin, and then last World Cup semi-final, they finished third. And I think they even did better than Brazil, although the Brazilian team looked like even they were at the peak, but maybe they were underperforming a little bit.
Yeah. And you see the Wheel Red Club, last year, the one I was coaching last year they were in the top division, the Wheel Red beer shot. And last year they were in the first division. I think they got relegated again because of money issues, and that and that. But they're quite a good club in Belgium. They raised a lot of young players, and Lukaku played there. So Lukaku is one of their famous players who went through the youth system at a beer shot, Wilrek. And then I moved to another club, and I coached 2 seasons, or 2 seasons, and the City Pirates, then the third division, and it was also a different experience as well, because they had a plan, they had a plan of where they want to go in the next few years, and it sounded good, So did a lot. That's where Nainggolan as well, Raja Nainggolan.
Yes.
Yeah, he started playing there as well. He started playing for in the neighborhood. He came from the neighborhood in which the club is based. So he even comes. He used to come often to the club as well.
To watch.
Yeah, come to watch, and he take pictures with the kids. Dembele as well. They're all guys who grew up in the same place. They used to. I remember they came together, and Nainggolan and Dembele came around the club, and the kids were very excited to see them. So it's good to see this kind of role model come around and take pictures with the kids, do one-on-one with the kids, play. Here they call it pana, they knock the ball between the legs, and pana. They do pana with the kids, yeah, it's quite exciting to see that, and it motivated a lot of the kids. You don't know what it means to these kids when they see some of these guys they watch on TV, when they meet them face to face.
They want to be like them.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference in their lives.
Yeah. What about now in Holland? Are you coaching any team? I mean, I know now everything is stopped, but do you have the chance to do any coaching?
No, I haven't been able to be involved in the football in Holland yet, because I moved over here and the family situation was a bit different, and then also with my job at the university, taking too much of my time. So in Belgium was a bit different. I could work at my own speed. I could find a lot of time to coach.
And you got Itze now, a baby boy.
Yeah. So it's difficult now. Things are a bit more. It's less flexibility, I would say. And then also my job. I'm doing a lot of work in a very structured environment. So it doesn't give me much room to do a lot of coaching, which is something I miss. But I've been following a lot of the football. Yeah, I mean, the Dutch football. There's Ajax. It just happens to be at the right time when Ajax seem to be doing better than they've been doing in the last few years. So yeah, it's exciting to be here, especially in Amsterdam. And the Dutch football, even the national team, is coming back as well, as you can tell. They have a lot of good players coming through. Koeman has a good vision for the team, and the kind of players he's selecting, and so it's pretty good, and it's kind of strange as well, and at the same time, because they seem to have a lot more better defenders than forwards, and
Yes,
which is
yes.
very,
Now they do. Yeah,
it's
they
not a
do.
very Dutch thing, It's not a very Dutch thing, Most, the country which has a reputation for offensive, technically gifted offensive players, and all of a sudden we just have lots of good defenders. And
Well,
this,
we are happy to give them a couple of Argentinian passports. We need a center back, fullback. Are we sponsored by Coke? Are we sponsored by Coke? This interview is sponsored by who?
Coca-Cola.
Cola Light. We are not encouraging young kids to drink those kind of things. Maybe safer option here, green tea, más cocido.
It's cola, it's light, yeah, zero sugar.
And what about a model or someone that you aspire as a coach to be like that person?
In my coaching, okay, yeah, like I told you about my football models when I was playing football, about I shared that with you. And it was like I grew up. The thing is that the players I looked at as footballing models are not necessarily the greatest ever footballers, but they're just those who made an impression to me at that moment, And I said before, like Ronaldinho Gaucho, Romario, Eto, George Weah, and Ronald Koeman when he was playing for Barcelona as well in that dream team of Johan Cruyff. He said, these are the players I when I was playing football, I wanted to be like them so much, because they made an impression to me. Mm-hmm. And then in my coaching time, when I'm in my coaching career, I used to really like Arsene Wenger, in the way he handled himself, always a gentleman, I know there was the pizza and the pasta throwing at Ferguson, and there was that thing before. but it also shows a passion, it always shows a passion as well.
Of course, yeah.
If you're passionate about football, you can't just be in neutral, at some point he has to play, it has to come out, So, but I always like the way he was handling himself, I felt like he respected the other coaches more in a game where people are playing mind games and taunting the others, and trying to wind up people.
Yeah, Maurizio kind of tried to hit him because he was quiet.
So I kind of like the way he was doing it, he won't go and say bad things about other people, he just talk about his team, or maybe complain about the grass being too long, complain about the wind being coming from the wrong direction, and that's why we couldn't score. So yeah, it will move the attention to other things than blaming people or blaming his own players like some other coaches are doing. He used to try to avoid. He used to protect his players. Probably have a go at them in the changing room, but not in front of the cameras. So he used to always protect his players, even the most hopeless of all of them. He would still try to protect them in public, and not throw them under the bus. So I used to like his ethics, the gentleman attitude. But then when I started coaching as well, I think then you have, okay, this is distant model. Then you always have the ones who were closest to you. And I would say you, Juan, you've been a role model to me in terms of coaching, because I learned a lot of things from working with you.
What did you learn from me? I hope
well, I think what I learned is also what I liked about you and your coaching. It also reminds me of football in Cameroon, in terms of how it's in terms of bringing a bit more joy into it, and not just playing, but also enjoying playing. Because you're not just passing the ball and you don't say anything. I also like the jokes which you bring into the football, pulling a bit of a shirt, laughing about it, and I didn't do it, and we all laugh about it. You know, it's a bit of the trickery and the jokes, you know, and the light-hearted attitude. You know, these are things which make the kids like football. You know, instead of all this straight face, you know, structured and nobody can laugh. You know, what are you laughing about? You know. Of course, there are limits to it. You know, they're mucking around. I know you always put your foot on the ground when they start mucking around. You know, and then they know where the line ends. You know, and that's also something which I found out as well, how to be able to mix fun and discipline at the same time.
At the same
So it's
time,
not just having this kid scared of you, but also having the kids know that, you know, if we go to this point, one is going to get upset, and then they don't do it. You see, but then they stay within this other part and enjoy their football training. You know, you see, that's just something I enjoyed about it, because in Cameroon as well, we have a very light-hearted attitude to football. You know, and we laugh on the football field. You know, we talk and make, say something and people laugh. Yeah, look at him, he's hopeless. You know, his mother is better than him. And things like that.
yeah, that balance between
Yeah, you get that, you really show that balance really well, of not being too structured, but also not letting people get away with anything. You know, so that was something I learned as well with you.
Thank you.
And then
What
also,
is
and also Winton Rufer. I think I learned a lot from him as well. A different kind of um, I learned different things from him, I would say, than what I learned from you as well. I think with Winton Rufer, I also learned I think he brings a different approach to football, which I think could improve football in New Zealand if people could copy. In terms of, I think he brought the German approach. You know, the whole, you need to sweat before you win. You know, you need to work hard, and then he always sets the bar really high. You see, because there's no point telling a kid you could juggle up to 20. He said you got to juggle up to 100. You see, he sets the bar really high, and that's the whole point. The sky should be your limit. You know, the thing is that the kids need to be faced with reality. They need to know that it doesn't just come. You need to put a lot of effort in there to achieve what you want to achieve. You know, and that's Winton Rufer. You know, it's the ethic of telling you the way it is. It's gonna involve a lot of hard work. You need to know that, and if you put your mind to it, be ready to sacrifice, be ready to put in the hours, then you will get there. But if you're not willing to do that, then maybe it's not for you. You know, I like his honesty about the whole thing. You know, it's not just like, anybody can get away with anything and make it. No, you know, you need to be able to work yourself off to get it. You know, and also in terms of letting the kids play, in terms of having encouraging creativity. You know, in terms of not also coaching too much. You know, like, let them dribble a few times. Okay, yeah, you said 3 touches, no more than 3 touches. Yeah, but then you see a creative player, doing Ronaldinho Gaucho stuff with the ball. You know what I mean? It's hard to tell them off. It's hard to tell them off because you're trying to encourage them to be good. So you can't kill them by overcoaching them.
We need more players like that in Australia.
We need more, exactly. That's very true, Juan. We need more players like that. So when you see that, you shouldn't discourage it. Yeah, but there's some way you can let it get away. Let them grow. Let them grow. Because we don't, like you said, we need a lot of players. You play some games sometimes, and then it's really tight, and you sometimes you need that kind of player to break, to make a breakthrough. There's sometimes you get one chance in the game. You just get one chance. You play, especially if you play against a team which is very tight at the back. They play like Atletico Madrid. Like really good defensive side. You're gonna get only about maybe 1 or 2 chances to score in the whole game. So if you have a lot of these creative players who can pick up the ball and run at them, do something, it changes everything. It changes everything. And this, like you said, it's part of the entertainment. You want to go to the football field and see some entertainment, and see people playing fancy football. Not saying you should fill your team with 11 fancy football players, but you need a few in the team. So I also learned from that with him that you should let them play. Let them play, and there's something I learned from Winter Rufer. Like, just let them play sometimes. Don't bring too many rules in there. Just let them play.
Let them play.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what about one of the things you think learn and will give advice to the coaches about when you started your coaching career, and then later, what was one thing that you say, I learned this and I think this is really important?
I think it's also it's about the age grades. I think different age grades have different requirements, you know. And I think with youth football, when I say youth football, I often refer to maybe below 12th grade and below, I would say, or 13th grade and below. And I know like 14, 15 are still youth football, but it's a different range, you know. If you say from 13 and below, you know, you would say, I think to me as a coach, winning is not the main thing. You know, winning is good, but it's not the main thing at that point. You want them to play good football. You want them to learn the principles. You want them to get the basics right. Because the thing is, if they don't get the basics right at that stage, then they may never get it again. Because the thing, after that, their body starts developing. They start going into puberty, and the body develops in different ways. Then it's difficult, even like juggling the ball. If you didn't learn to juggle the ball when you were much younger, it gets harder when you get older, you know. So you're gonna put in a lot more effort than if you would have done it when you were younger. So like I feel like basic things need to be done at that age, and there shouldn't be too much emphasis on winning. Which means if you are developing your drills, they shouldn't depend too much on the result of the last game. You know, you shouldn't go like, okay, because we lost the last game because we're poor in defending corners. The next training sessions we're gonna work drills on defending corners. No, it shouldn't be so tied to what happened in the last game. It should be tied more to a plan you have. Now you need to have a plan from the beginning of the season, saying, you know, okay, week 1 we're gonna do this, week 2 we're gonna do this, week 3. I think you used to do that at 3 o'clock in Karori and Onslow, where you had a whole program for the whole football season to follow. You're like, okay, this beginning of the season, first 1 month we're working on passing, second month we're working on turns, we're working. So there were different packages. And I think that's the right approach for youth coaches. You know, don't worry too much about what happens in one game. You know, focus on the general plan which you're gonna follow throughout. Okay. Now I think a different rule applies as well, because when I was coaching at my first coaching job in Belgium at Esam, it was more of a under 17 team, and there were different rules as well from what I learned, because at that level, probably the basics have been covered before they get to about 16. Now you need to teach them other things. Now that's where you can focus on what happened in the last game, you know. So you do your plan. My plan is often like what I learned from you. I think it's the same kind of plan. You start with the warm-up, you know, the drill with the ball. In Belgium, I've learned to put in the physical part of it now, where they do the runs around the field first, you know, and then they come in, they play with the ball, they do the touches with the ball, the turns, you know, the hooks, inside hook, that, and then they do the juggling, you know, keep up, you know, different combinations, you know, one-on-one or individually, you know, and then they do that, and then we switch from there into the drill. I try to make it just one drill, because I don't want to complicate the whole thing by having too many different things. I want them to go back home and think of one thing, which we did today, instead of having to pick from so many different things. So I try to limit it to one major thing, one major drill we work on after the warm-up. So with the senior teams, I go for the older teams, sorry, I go for correcting something which consistently went wrong in the game. You know, maybe not just one mistake. It happened 2, 3, 4 times, then we have a problem with that. You see? So if it's just one thing, okay, one time one person makes a mistake. But if they do the same 2, 3, 4 times, they score a goal, we concede a goal, do it again, we have, you know, then we have to work on that. And then I try to bring that out as a main drill for the next session. You see how we can correct that properly. But with the youth teams, I really don't care about what happened in the game. We just continue with the program.
On the bigger picture.
Yeah, because the bigger picture counts more. It's all about developing the principles, so you get the principles of the game right. Yeah.
Very good. So how do you see we talk about Holland, the future, how do you see the future of Cameroonian football? A funny or an an statistic point that Chile, for example, won the last two Copa America, 15-16, didn't qualify for the World Cup, and Cameroon won the Africa Cup and didn't qualify for the World Cup. So, I have the shirt you gave me, and I was really proud that Cameroon won. I said, "Yeah, we're going to the World Cup," and you say, "It's a different story."
I didn't make it. Well, I think the main there's so many problems with Cameroon football. I would say, there's so many problems, and one of the problems is a lack of a competitive youth football. Because we
That's
have
in
all these
Cameroon or everywhere in Africa, because we don't really see the African teams. They always, some maybe have potential. 2010, the Ghana team, they lost against penalties against Uruguay. They were a really strong team.
I think that is also one of the problems. I think one of the problems with these things is often the administration of football. And as you see, a lot of them always have problems with the football association. The preparation for the World Cup is often really poor in terms of how officials handle the logistics or for example, say you're going to play a football game, players, and then they get to the eve of the football tournament before somebody starts talking about how much they're going to pay them. You can't do that. And this is what is consistently going wrong in Africa. Because then they get there, instead of focusing on the game tomorrow, they're arguing about money because somebody didn't tell them before that they're going to earn only 80% of what they're supposed to earn, for example. You see, and this lack of planning and lack of order is also the reason why you see some of these African players who were raised in Europe, refuse to go play for the African teams because they can't deal with that kind of disorder which is going on over there. It's not what they're used to in the West, And then in Cameroon, we have a lot of those problems. We have a lot of youth players who would have played for Cameroon, but they refused. Mbappe, for example, could have played for Cameroon. His father is from Cameroon, and his father wanted him to play for Cameroon as well, but he didn't because he heard about all the chaos going on there in terms of how preparation for major tournaments. And it's not only Cameroon, like I said, it's many other African countries. You always hear problems of pay, problems of indiscipline. This person are angry with the way they handle this. They came with this and they forgot to bring this other thing. And then it's just all over the place. And that is just one of the things I think which affects many of the African teams in major tournaments. So the talent is there, but there's a lack of organization, and you cannot underestimate how important that it is to success. Lack of planning and organization, Because look at Ivory Coast. There's so many great African teams who've come out. Ivory Coast has all these great players. Ghana always has a lot of great players. Nigeria, Cameroon. These four countries of Senegal, for example, as well. Amazing players all over Europe. But then you ask yourself, why don't they come, when they come together to play for the national team, why don't they deliver at the same level as they play at the European clubs? It's a different order. So the European clubs, things are more organized. There's more, people more focused. People know what they're doing, and then that changes everything. Now when they go back home, they feel like, it's just anything can happen here, we just go on. And I think it's not the same thing. Okay, then now if you want to say we forget about the players coming from Europe or those who are raised in Europe or those who are playing in Europe, now let's look at home-based players. There is a different kind of problem there as well, because the youth football is not well encouraged by the federations, So the thing is that they have all these scattered academies all over the place, but there's no national youth league, you see? And that's also a problem with the female football. Cameroon has a good female football team for African standard, really good. And they've played at 2 World Cups already in a row. And they all got out of the group stage. They went to the second round. So they're pretty good. But you realize they could have been better if there was a bit more order, if they had a women's youth championship. No, they don't. They just have a few female clubs playing in the big cities, and then they just go pick a few players from those clubs and take them to the competition. Yeah. So imagine what could have been if they had a youth championship, a female football championship going on. It would have produced a lot better talent than what we have. It could have been a lot better. And the same with youth football. The potential is there, but they don't have, they're not adequately handled. They go, they develop them to the best of their ability. Because if they had a good youth football team, youth tournament going on, there'll be no need to look for players born and raised in wherever, have here who want to come back and play for their country and they've never been to Cameroon, but Papa and Mama came from Cameroon, so let's go and play for Cameroon. They won't have to do that. They could focus on the youth players. But now because the youth players grow up, they start getting a bit of basics and the agents come in, a lot of agents now trying to make money. And as soon as one player has a good one season, they don't let the player mature. They just pick a player, I'm going to take you to this place. I'm going to take you to Romania. I'm going to take you to Poland. I'm going to take you to...
Everywhere, to make money.
Yeah. And then the thing is that a lot of these agents, some of them are linked to, I would say, not so good, not so high level football leagues or football clubs,
But they make money.
Yeah, but they make money, exactly. Like if you take them to the Middle East, you're going to make a lot of money, but the player will end up there and disappear, and nobody will ever hear about them anymore. But if they came to a place where there was football ambition first than money, they could have moved to Portugal. Move to Portugal or to Belgium, or even to Holland, where the football career, there is a better chance that you will develop as a footballer and become somebody tomorrow instead of going to make a quick buck for 1 or 2 seasons and then you disappear.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what is happening to a lot of the potentially good players coming through the youth teams now in Cameroon. They just go to these countries and then they disappear. Because the agent says, I take you this place, you're gonna make such amount of money. Next year you'll be building a house, next month you buy a house, and then they go. And then they end up there, you see? And then which is and it wasn't the case before, but now the business is a bit more disorganized now, I would say. FIFA is trying everything to regulate it, but it's not easy.
Yeah, not easy, isn't it? So how do you see the future of football in general?
The future of football in general, I feel like the European teams will still be dominating for a bit, I think so, because here, football has become, I would say compared to Africa and Asia and that, football here is becoming science, Football is not just ability to be strong and quick and kick the ball, No, it's becoming more of a science, where people really study the game, that you can see they study every aspect of the game, It's almost like, and that is something which we're still lacking in developing countries. We're still struggling. But Latin America is different, because there's been a longer history of competing with Europe, for Latin America, the World Cup, the first one was won by Uruguay, So that says a lot. Yeah, so there's been a longer history of competing with Europe. And that is also in the psychology of the Latin American teams, I think. They feel like, we've got nothing to be scared of. We've often beaten them as well. You know what I mean? But, for African teams and Asian teams, it's a different mentality where they kind of feel like the European teams are better.
Although about the European, if you want to call it supremacy, over the last, since Mexico 86, so from Italy 90 to now, there were only 2 South American champions. Brazil 94 and 2002. 2002 was an amazing team. 94 probably was the most boring World Cup final I ever watched. Maybe you remember 0-0.
I remember that one. Yeah.
And then after that, unfortunately, 6 European nations won the World Cup and only Brazil. So you could see how, and before was, before was Argentina twice, Uruguay twice, Brazil 3 times. I was almost like 1 here, 1 there. And that changed when, unfortunately for Argentina and South America, was the first time ever that European team won in South America. First time ever. They always lost. Argentina won it, Uruguay won it, but didn't happen before. So that was the first time, and that changed, in a way, the history of football. Hopefully we get it back, and a South American team will win in Europe. but it's always difficult for the South American team. But yeah, hopefully change. But I can see how you are right about the change of football and all the technology and really fit running, speed, pace, set pieces in the last World Cup. So everything changed a little bit, and we don't adapt. Then
you're right about that. It is the importance of adapting. You know, we need to adapt to these changes. And I think the other countries need to, and if we don't adapt to these changes, we get caught out all the time. You know, we need to adapt to the way we look at football now. It's not just kicking and running. It's not just that. You know, there's a lot more. You know, video analysis, nutrition, all these different things. You know, a lot of the countries in developing, a lot of developing countries do not have access to this kind of technology or investment. You know, and that will make a big difference. It's going to make a big difference.
Yeah.
So we need to, like you said, you use the word adapt. You need to adapt. That's right. We need to adapt to catching up with these new changes. You know.
Yeah, no, exactly. Well,
because you know, like with Cameroon, you know, for example, the team, the team the great team of the 1990s is actually not the best team Cameroon ever had. You know. Yes, they achieved a lot. They went all the way to the quarterfinals of the World Cup. But if you want to look at the quality of the football, they were horrible. You know, they were very defensive. I think you would have seen it from Cameroon, Argentina. You know.
Oh, today Cameroon will finish with 5 players. The way they were kicking Maradona, unbelievable.
They were a team of 11 good bullies. You know what I mean? They just bully you into not playing football. You know, they were really tough, physical. They were really big lads. You know, big, strong, very strong mentality. You know, they were like mentality giants. You know, they knew they could beat anybody. You know, and that was the force of the team. You see, it wasn't about the technique of the game. You could see they couldn't do anything. 3-4 passes they couldn't put together, but they would kick you. You know, they would make you be scared of playing. You know. So, but now I think the best team we had was the team around 2000, which won the gold medal, the Olympics. It was quite a young team which was coming up. They won 2 Africa Cups in a row. They went to the World Cup. They won the Olympic gold medal. That was the best team Cameroon had in terms of the quality of the football. They had this Lauren who was playing for Arsenal. You know, he was also in the team. Eto was just coming up. He was only 18 or so, 19 or 20 or something like that.
20, yeah.
Yeah. So the team was getting Patrick Mboma. He was like a massive, you know, really good player as well. He was slow, but really technically very good, you know. So that was our best team, you know. And in our history, that was the best team. Yes, they didn't go as far in the World Cup, but in terms of quality of the football, that team changed the way football is played in Cameroon. You see, but after that, people started focusing more on the technical side of the game. So you can't just kick the ball and whack people and get away with it. And the rules have changed as well. Like you said, the rules have changed. You know, you can't kick someone and take the armband off their hand and expect to stay on the field. You know.
It is a really funny story about that game. So Argentina won the World Cup '86, and we went to Italy '90. First game, opening game, champions against Cameroon. Carlos Bilardo was the coach of Argentina.
Yeah.
And apparently, what he did is he was a really good coach, a little bit crazy. I mean, I know they call it Loco Bielsa, but I think he was more insane. He used to watch 1,000 games before you to pay the flight attendants money to get videos to watch it, and you to have 4 or 5 hours with the players. Look that guy and whatever. Okay, so anyway, we lost against Cameroon 1-0, and then the coach said, "Okay, everyone, get all your luggage ready because we are getting out of first round." And he was like, "Oh no, Carlos, 2 more games, blah blah." And he said, "Well, if I'm in that game, in that plane, and you guys get out in the first round, I'm going to say to the pilot to put it down, and everyone is going to that. We are not going back to Argentina." And then all the players were like that. And then apparently Maradona said, "No, Diego, well, I got down Argentina." They're like, "No, everyone, I would say to go down." And the players said the players were scared that Bilardo will find a way to put the plane down, and no one will make it back to Argentina, you know. And then we won the game, and then we drew. And then we went round of 16. We won every game apart from the round of 16 against Brazil 1-0. And then Sergio Goche and the penalties. But that's a really funny story about that game.
Yeah, that's really funny. It's really funny, yeah. Nice, yeah.
All right, amigo, thank you for your time. Have a nice day over there. Here it's getting dark. You can see the light is coming out. The lights.
Yeah.
I'm still here.
All right.
Thanks for your time. Take care. Say hi to Flo. Say hi to Itze and Mali.
Okay, bye. Yeah.